Hi everyone. This video is going to be practice problems related to determining whether definitions are stipulative, lexical, precising, theoretical, or persuasive. All right, number one, blind means, for federal income tax purposes, either the inability to see better than 20/200 in the better eye with glasses, or having a field of vision of 20 degrees or less. Okay, so what we're doing is we're trying to determine if a definition like this is stipulative, lexical, precising, theoretical, or persuasive. Okay, so whenever you see something like this term means for this purpose, generally it's going to be a precising definition. So here, blind can mean many different things in many different contexts. But in the context of federal income tax purposes, the way that our government defines blind is this way. And so we're making the definition more precise. Thus, it's a precising definition. Number two, football means a sport in which modern-day gladiators brutalize one another while trying to move a ridiculously shaped ball from one end of the playing field to the other. This is obviously not a very precise definition. It's not a lexical definition, one that you would find in the dictionary. We know, remember, stipulative definitions are definitions where you're creating a definition for the first time. So we know that football has already been defined. And so here, this is a persuasive definition. So anytime somebody defines something this way, where they're trying to create a certain perspective on the term, either positive or negative, it's a persuasive definition. So this person obviously is trying to create a negative perception in the audience and persuade you that football is a brutal sport with a ridiculous shaped ball and things like that. Same thing happens when people define people who are anti-abortion as hating women's rights, and vice versa when you define someone who is pro the right to choose as a murderer. Those would also be persuasive definitions. And we see it a lot in politics. A Republican is this, a Democrat is a pansy who wants the government to pay for everything. Those are ridiculous persuasive definitions. All right, number three, dog bomber means an inconsiderate person who does not clean up the messes his dog leaves on other people's lawns. Now, dog bomber is not really a word we're familiar with. And so in this case, it's someone who's creating a term like dog bomber, is somebody who doesn't clean up their dog's mess. So this is a stipulative definition. Remember, stipulative definitions are for terms. So if you just make up something on your own, where you mix two words together or something new and you're creating something creative, then you're creating a stipulative definition, which, by the way, in our language, I think it's becoming more acceptable to create new words and things, but people aren't really rewarded for it. But in German, for example, precocious children and other people will actually display their intellect by creating new words, by mashing words together or combining terms. So in some languages, it's actually encouraged to create these types of terms. Number four, diffident means lacking confidence in oneself or characterized by modest reserve. This is a lexical definition. So this is what you would see in something in a dictionary. And you might think like, oh, diffident is a word that somebody made up, like dog bomber. But be careful about that, right? Because there are a lot of words that we don't use anymore that we don't know, and especially in the English language. There are tons of words in the English language. So make sure that you look these words up to see if there already is kind of a regular definition for the term or a lexical definition, which is what this one is. Magnetism means a property of certain substances such as iron, cobalt, and nickel that arises from the spin of the electrons in the unfilled inner shell of the atoms that compose the substance. That's interesting. They're probably spinning the opposite way. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay, so what type of definition is this? This is a theoretical definition. So a theoretical definition defines a term from a context, from a contextual perspective that relates to the theory of the thing. So often you'll find these theoretical definitions in things like physics or chemistry, thermodynamics, all these different areas where they'll define a term by these theoretical relationships between different aspects of what's going on. So the theoretical relationship here is the spin of the electrons drawing the things together. Fiduciary means having to do with a confidence or trust, a person who holds something in trust. What type of definition is this? This is a lexical definition again. So this is just what you would see in the dictionary. It's already a term that exists, so it's not stipulative. It's not theoretical or precising, and it's not persuasive because it's being objective. Thus, it's a lexical definition. Politician means a person of unquestioned honesty and integrity, whom the people in their collective wisdom have duly elected to guide the ship of state and protect it from the reefs and shoals that threaten it on every side. So you can hear, like, George Washington or somebody, John Adams talking about or even Aristotle, right? A politician is someone who, so this is like the positive framing of what a politician is. Unfortunately, some of our politicians don't manifest this. And so what type of definition is that? It's a persuasive definition. This time it's positively persuasive, whereas the football definition was negatively persuasive. Intoxicated, for purposes of driving a car in many states. What did I say earlier? So if there's a term and then there's something that like stipulates what the definition is, precising. Think we're making it more precise. Because intoxicated might be like what you were doing last weekend after the football game where you blacked out and, whatever. I shouldn't laugh, but it's true. A lot of people do that. There's no laws when it comes to the clause. But that's a form of intoxication. But for the purposes of driving in many states, the way that the state government has defined being intoxicated means having a blood alcohol content of 0.08% or greater. And so if we go up, that is the precising definition. That one, remember, aligns with number 1 here. For federal income tax purposes, for purposes of driving in many states. Number 9, femikin means a female mannequin. This is the stipulative definition. So this is kind of like one of those creative definitions where somebody's creating a term by mashing some words together and they have to define it for the first time. And so this is stipulative. Sound means a compression wave in air or some other elastic medium having a frequency ranging for humans from 20 to 20,000 vibrations per second. What do you think this is? This one's a lot like the magnetism one, right? And thus, it is the theoretical definition of what sound is. Radioactive area means for purposes of the U.S. nuclear regulatory, so I can just stop right now, right? I shouldn't read the whole thing through. But for the purpose of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, radioactive area means this. We're making it more precise. So technically, any area where there's radioactivity is a radioactive area. But because we're making it more precise, this is a precising definition. And I guess anytime the sun is out, anywhere the sun is shining is a radioactive area because there's radiation coming off the sun. Or radioactive particles. Number 12, neurosis means a chronic emotional disturbance that arises from suppressed or forgotten emotional stress, such as resentment, hostility, aggression, or guilt experienced in early childhood. What is that? Is that stipulative? No, because we're not defining it from the first time. Lexical. This is interesting. This could be a lexical definition. If we looked it up, we might see something like this. But it could also be theoretical. My guess is this is theoretical in this context. I don't know, we could look it up and see what it is lexically. So you can see I'm a little bit in the middle on this. If I were to create a test question like this, I probably wouldn't include both of those answers as options. But I'm going to say that this is a theoretical definition. Hurley probably meant it that way. Petrograb means invading a country to steal its oil. Again, Petrograb is kind of a term that the person's making up. Thus, this is a stipulative definition because we're defining it for the first time. Let's do one more, 14, and then you can continue on your own. Smoker means a rude and disgusting individual who callously emits noxious tobacco fumes into the air, threatening the health and comfort of everyone in the vicinity. That is a persuasive definition, obviously a negatively persuasive definition. As a former smoker, I miss it, but I'm glad I don't do it anymore. I hope that I wasn't being rude and disgusting, and I don't think I was being callous. I tried to stay away from people as much as possible. And so this is a negatively persuasive definition about what a smoker is. If you do smoke, good luck. You should stop. I think you know that. But yeah, smoking it's extremely addictive, unfortunately. Okay. All right. Well, I hope that you found this video helpful, and I hope that you continue your own work on learning about different types of definitions.